The haunting mystery of the Dyatlov Pass incident. Picture a frozen night in the Ural Mountains, a group of young hikers setting up camp under a starry sky, and a sudden, inexplicable tragedy that leaves them scattered across the snow in ways no one can explain. This is the story of the Dyatlov Pass incident, a haunting mystery from 1959, where 9 experienced adventurers met a bizarre fate that's puzzled the world for over 60 years. What drove them from their tent into the deadly cold? Why were some found half-dressed with broken bones but no wounds? And what secrets lie buried in that remote pass? Let's trek into this chilling tale, piecing together their final days, the eerie discoveries, and the theories that keep this enigma alive. It began in late January of 1959, deep in the Soviet Union's northern wilderness. 9 hikers, 7 men and 2 women, all in their 20s, set out from the city of Sverdlovsk, now Yekaterinburg, for a challenging expedition. They were led by Igor Dyatlov, a 23-year-old engineering student with a knack for survival, joined by friends from the Ural Polytechnic Institute. These weren't amateurs. Most had tackled tough trails before, skiing across frozen rivers and climbing icy peaks. Their goal was to reach Mount Otterton, a 10-day journey through the rugged terrain of the northern Urals, a region known for its brutal winters and sparse settlements. They packed skis, heavy coats, wool socks, and a sturdy tent, snapping photos and scribbling in journals along the way. On January 27th, they started their ascent, waving goodbye to a 10th member, Yuri Yudin, who turned back with a leg injury, the only one who'd lived to tell their tale. By February 1st, they'd reached a windswept slope below a peak called Kholat Syakhl, meaning Dead Mountain in the local Mansi language. It was a fitting name. The area was desolate, treeless above the timberline, battered by howling winds and sub-zero cold. They pitched their tent on the slope, a spot Igor picked to avoid avalanche-prone valleys below, though it left them exposed to the elements. The group settled in, their journals noting a calm day, a meal of bread and soup, and a plan to push for Otterton the next morning. A photo from that afternoon showed them smiling, bundled in coats, the snow glittering under a weak sun. It was their last happy moment. Something that night would shatter their camp and their lives in ways no one saw coming. They were due back in the village of Vizhai by February 12th, but when they didn't show, no one panicked at first. Delays were common in the wild. Yudin, back home, grew uneasy, and by February 20th, a search was launched. 6 days later, on February 26th, rescuers found their tent, or what was left of it. The canvas was slashed from the inside, as if they'd hacked their way out in a frenzy, leaving boots, coats, and food behind. Footprints led downhill, about a mile through deep snow, toward a patch of trees near a small ravine. There, under a cedar, they found the first 2 bodies, Yuri Krivonyshenko and Yuri Doroshenko, barefoot in underwear, frozen stiff beside a smoldering fire. Their hands were charred, as if they'd clutched burning branches to stay warm. Days later, 3 more emerged. Igor Dyatlov, Zinaida Kolmogorova, and Rustem Slobodin, scattered on the slope, posed as if crawling back to the tent, dead from the cold. The last 4 took months to find, not surfacing until May when the snow thawed. Buried under 12 feet in a ravine, they told a stranger story. Lyudmila Dubinina, Alexander Zolotaryov, Nikolai Thibaut Brignol, and Alexander Kolovatov. Lyudmila was missing her tongue, her eyes gone, though animals could have taken them. Nikolai's skull was crushed, Alexander Z's chest caved in with broken ribs, yet their skin showed no cuts or bruises, like they'd been hit by a force from within. Their clothes carried faint radiation, odd for a hiking trip, and some wore scraps torn from the others, as if swapping in desperation. 9 deaths, 9 mysteries. What had happened? The tent was the first clue to their panic. Slashing it from inside meant they'd fled in terror, abandoning warmth in -30-degree cold. Footprints showed they'd walked, not run, barefoot or in socks, suggesting no immediate chase. The fire under the cedar hinted they'd tried to survive, but why not return for coats? The injuries, broken bones without scratches, baffled doctors. A Soviet inquest in 1959 called it an unknown compelling force, closing the case without answers, fueling decades of speculation. What drove them out? An avalanche was the simplest guess. The slope was steep, and a snowslide could have spooked them into cutting the tent. But no debris buried it, and the snow around stayed smooth. The injuries didn't fit either. Avalanches bruise and tear, not just snap bones inside unbroken skin. Another idea was infrasound, low-frequency waves from the wind whipping around Dead Mountain, known to spark panic in humans. It could explain their flight, but not the deaths, or why they didn't go back once it passed. The radiation raised eyebrows too. 1959 was peak Cold War, and the Urals hosted secret tests. Some whispered of a weapons mishap, a stray missile or gas cloud, but no debris or burns backed it up, and the government denied everything. The Mansi, local indigenous people, added a cultural twist. They called the peak cursed, tied to spirits who punished intruders. Searchers found Mansi tracks miles away, but the tribe swore they'd stayed clear, and no signs pointed to an attack, no blood, no struggle. Then there were the lights. Diaries from January 31st noted bright orbs in the sky, seen by others in the region that winter. UFOs? Military flares? They fed wild theories, alien encounters, a cover-up, but offered no proof. The bodies told their own tale. Hypothermia took the first 5, brutal trauma the last 4, yet the why stayed elusive. Investigators scrambled for sense. Autopsies ruled out foul play, no stab wounds, no poison, but the injuries screamed something unnatural. Soviet files stayed sealed for years, hinting at a hush-up, though nothing concrete leaked. In 2019, Russia reopened the case, blaming an avalanche again, but critics scoffed. Too clean, too simple. Online forums buzz with ideas. Yeti, secret bunkers, even time slips. None with evidence, all with passion. Searchers still comb the pass, finding rusted gear or faded photos, but no closure. Over 60 years on, this story clings like frost. 9 friends hiked into the Urals on January 27, 1959, pitched their tent on February 1st, and met a fate no one can pin down. The slashed canvas, the barefoot tracks, the broken bones. They whisper of a night gone wrong, a force unseen. Was it nature's fury, human error, or something beyond our grasp? Every clue twists the knot tighter. Every theory leaves a chill. This tale lingers because it's raw. A group full of life, snuffed out in silence, their last moments lost to the snow. Craving more mysteries like this, stories of the unexplained, the vanished, the unforgettable. Join Mystery Pulse to trek into the next intriguing unknown. Subscribe now and hit the bell so you don't miss a single echo.